A great man once said, if you must do great work, you must love what you do. And if you haven't found it, keep looking. This is a show where teenagers and young adults are exposed to practicing professionals who will guide them in the choice of a career. This is Cath Them Young. My name is Praise Shogbade, and I am delighted to be your host. Here in the studio, I have a new media strategist and a content writer. She is a graduate of mass communication and has been practicing content writing for many years now. I have with me Olusanya Adetola. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
It's such a pleasure to finally have you, to meet you in person, to have you, speak on your great works, the things that you do on social media. We see it all and we love it all. Once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So I would love you to talk about content writing. People who are listening, watching the show right now, they're looking and they're like, okay, content writing, what do we have here? Content writing doesn't really seem as such an independent career, but I want you to speak on content writing and let us know what it is about.
Okay. Content writing is a piece of writing, specifically crafted to probably advertise a product or a service or create an awareness about a brand.
Okay.
So a content write-up could be about anything generally, It could be to advertise a cup, it could be to advertise a show or a brand, like what we are currently doing now. It's part of content writing.
Okay.
This is a content that we are currently, executing, So content writing is everywhere. It's part of our daily routine. When you wake up in the morning and then you decide, okay, first thing I want to brush my teeth, take my bath, then hustle for bus to work. Those are contents, because you can as well post it on social media, and those are contents for your page. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So content writing is everywhere. It's part of what we do. It's part of our daily life. It's just all around us.
Okay, so to be a content writer, do you have to, I don't think it's like an independent course to study in a higher institution. I don't think anybody can say, I'm currently studying content writing, I'm at my 200 level or something. So do you think that, what do you have to study, to be a content writer?
Okay, so anybody can be a content writer, first of all.
Wow.
Yes, anybody can be a content writer, because we all, like I said earlier, we all wake up and brush our teeth, take our baths. Those are contents, right? So anybody can be a content writer, but if you want to major into content writing, in Nigeria currently, we don't have like a course for that. So, but you could study mass communication, like I did. I feel like mass communication is probably the only course that you can study for that, right? Except you want to take professional courses or postgraduate studies or masters for that. And you could also take online courses from Udemy and all those online. Yeah, so you could take content writing courses or advertisement or whatever it is that you want to do. But a degree course in content writing, we don't have that now. So the closest course to that is mass communication.
Okay, so you're saying that even if you're a science student and then you are probably done studying in the higher institution, you can still be a content writer if you take online courses, postgraduate courses and all that.
Yes, you can be a technical content writer. That's those that write about anything technical.
Okay.
So you could be working with let's say with a solar energy company, and then you have to write about solar energy and all that. So a science student can be a content writer.
Okay.
You can write about anything based on science.
Okay, so content writing is quite vast.
Very
it means,
vast.
From what you just said, it means that literally anybody can be a content writer as long as they have knowledge on a particular subject.
Yes, and you have good writing skills, and then you know the do's and don'ts, right? The ethics of, so
moral standards and all of that.
Yes.
All right. So what makes you unique as a content writer? When you say anybody can be a content writer, it makes the career look as though it's just something that everybody can do. But what makes you unique? What makes you exceptional from every other person out there? What you've just said, anybody out there can just say, okay, I think I should go into content writing because I have knowledge on science, I have good writing skills, let me just do this. Is this something, we can just decide to do? Or do we need to have unique traits to be a content writer?
You have to be creative. You have to be creative. Because first of all, before you come up with the content, you have to think. So, who are my audience? Who are those I want to write to, right? How do I go about it? How do I help them understand what I am writing about? For instance, you want to write a content to advertise a new product, like for instance, something similar to paracetamol. Now you have to write from the angle of your audience. Okay, so how do I help them know about this product, what it can do for them, why they should pick that product instead of paracetamol that they are used to and they are loyal to, right? So it really takes a lot, right? So I was reading this book, Building a Story Brand, that says that the customers are the hero. So you have to write from an angle that your customer is the hero and at the same time pushing your brand. So how do you do that? That's where the creativity comes in. So
enjoy inspirational, informative, and soul-lifting Christian programs such as Christian Parenting and Homefront, Light After Darkness, Fulfilling the Mandate, Kids and Bible, Movies Review, Shepherd's Spouse, Kingdom Stars, Teens Perspectives, My Next Gospel Event, and lots more on Divine Television. Download Divine TV mobile app on Google Play Store or watch on our YouTube channel. You can also visit www.tvdivine.net. Divine TV, enriching souls through the gospel of Christ. So from what you just said, we need to be a content writer, you need to be flexible enough, to work with different brands, especially when the brands you're working with are like, conflicting. This one is a cook, this one is in technology. They are not really alike.
Yeah, that's where different type of content writers come in. Like I mentioned earlier, we have technical content writers, right? And then we have the freelancers. That's where I come in. We are freelancers. I can write on anything you give me. All I need to do is research, talk to a couple of people, people that I feel are the target audience for that product or service, and then I get to work.
Now that's the uniqueness I wanted you to point out, because anybody can be a content writer, anybody can be a technical content writer, but it takes a lot to really be a freelancer. It takes a lot.
More than,
Looking through your profile, I saw that you work with 3 or 4 different brands.
Yep.
Would you like to tell us what they major in so we know if,
Okay, so I work for a photographer. I work for a pharmaceutical company. I work for a health coach. I work for an event planner also. So those are 4 totally different careers.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And what you do for them is you help them strategize on social media, help them create their posts and all that.
Yes, I handle their social media pages, basically.
Okay, so before the advent of social media, before people started, advertising their brands on social media, now we have social media creation, we have promotions on social media, we have a lot of things, people advertising. Now, when you think of advertising your brand, the first place that comes to mind is social media. Even before you think of TV, before you think of going to the radio, or giving marketers, to go around on the road and all of that. So, but I know that content writing was in vogue. I mean, content writing existed way before social media even, came to be. It existed before people thought about making advertisements on social media. So that means that content writing is not really is not strictly for social media. So how else can one practice as a content writer outside social media? Social media gives it a leverage, right?
Yep.
But how else can you practice as a content writer? Or is there no hope for people who don't like social media and want to be a content writer?
Well, I would say social media brought like another dimension to content writing. It's like it's expanded and gave it expanded and gave more opportunities, So we have script writers. they're also content writers, right?
Okay.
Come up with, okay, so we want to have a program, and the program title should be this time, this duration of time, just like what we are doing now. That is still part of content writing. So you could be a content writer for a TV show.
Okay.
You can be a content writer for a radio station. You can be a content writer for a magazine. For, I think newspaper is more of news, so magazine will do. So I mean, even when we have magazines and we're like, oh, I love this magazine. Why do you love the magazine? Because of the content in it. So those are content writing.
They say content is king.
Yes. I think the thing is, before social media came, I think they would rather, what's this word? Refer to themselves as writers.
Yeah.
So you hear things like, I'm a writer, till social media came, and then we now had to diversify.
Give the career a little boost.
I'm a content writer, I'm a copywriter, you know, and I'm just like a writer, I'm a feature writer, you know, so we now had different class, you understand? So if you don't want to work with the internet as a content writer, it's all good. You can write for a magazine. You can write for a TV station, for a radio station. You can come up with programs. We have program directors. All these things are still part of content writing.
So everything you've mentioned is still along the line of mass communication. And you've established earlier that you don't really have to study mass communication to be a content writer.
Yes.
Although studying mass comm gives it an edge.
Yes.
So for a mass communication graduate, I know that for you to be a mass communication graduate, you must have been in the print line, in the broadcast line, and I know writing has to do with print. So were you a print student or a broadcast student?
I was a broadcast student.
And you're a content writer?
Yes, I mean, even in broadcast class, you have to write. Print, broadcast, I feel like it's just the name. You have to write.
Yes, a journalist is a journalist.
A journalist is a journalist. You have to go out, source for news. You have to think, you know, everything. I feel it's still the same anyways.
But there's definitely a career for content writers outside of journalism.
Yes, there is. It is totally different. As a content writer, you have to be a storyteller at some point, right? You have to sell. You have to tell stories. You have to... at the point you have to write features, articles. For instance, you want to write content for your website or for a blog. You have to be a storyteller. You have to be creative. You get what I mean? So that's totally different from writing news. Something happened today at so place. You write it down, what happened, when it happened, where it happened. So they are totally different things.
Okay. So from what you've said, I understand that there are a few skills you need to be a content writer. One of it is good communication skills. One of it is good writing skills. One of it is good storytelling skills and all of that. So thank you very much for telling us about that. So I'd love us to talk about you for a little while. Getting into the higher institution, you studied mass communication. Did you always want to be a content writer, or it was something you realized along the line, content writing is nice, it's in my line of study, let me just be a content writer?
Okay. I got into the Nigerian Institute of Journalism to study mass communication and be a presenter. But along the line, I fell in love with graphic designing. I fell in love with being creative, you know. I found out that I get tired doing one particular thing over and over again. You understand? So I felt like if I was going to be a TV presenter, I would just have to come to the studio, talk and talk and talk. So
I feel like you're throwing a shade at me.
Of course not. Yeah. So I fell in love with graphic design. I started seeing some ads then on Facebook, and I was seeing the creativity, and I was wondering, how did they come up with this? I've always loved behind the scene kind of thing. Yeah, so when I fell in love with graphic designing, I knew I had to be creative. I had no choice. So I needed exposure. I need to, start reading, thinking, acting in that line. So, but I was already in school, and the course was not bad. Mass communication. So it's still in line with that. So I moved on with it, and then from there, I started doing a little bit of graphic designing. And while being a graphic designer, I had to start creating copies myself. Because I worked with a real estate company then for about some months. And then I was given the role of social media manager and graphics designer. That was the
when
first
you
time.
knew little to nothing about it.
That was the first time I was going to design with Corel Draw and Photoshop.
Wow.
That was the first time I was really going to like start writing sales copies, contents, captions. And this is a company that is already established. Where am I going to start from? And the woman just employed me, gave me a system, bam, Wi-Fi, bam, oh yeah, start work. And then, I mean, I had to watch YouTube videos, work overnight, you understand? At the point my job was threatened, I have to, you know, really, if I know I want to do this, I have to be consistent, I have to be serious, I have to read, I have to watch videos and all of that. So that really pushed me.
Your career.
It really pushed me. Like when I left and then I got back to school for my higher national diploma.
Okay, so it was like an IT period.
Yes, it is. So I enrolled for internship with another digital. This is like now a digital agency. What they do is handle brand's presence online.
Okay.
Enjoy inspirational, informative, and soul-lifting Christian programs such as Christian Parenting and Homefront, Light After Darkness, Fulfilling the Mandate, Kids and Bible, Movies Review, Shepherd's Spouse, Kingdom Stars, Teens Perspectives, My Next Gospel Event, and lots more on Divine Television. Download Divine TV mobile app on Google Play Store or watch on our YouTube channel. You can also visit www.tvdivine.net. Divine TV, enriching souls through the gospel of Christ.
This is still Divine TV, where we enrich souls through the gospel of Christ. I still have here Olusanya Adetola, a new media strategist and content creator. So we'll pick up from where we stopped the other time. You were talking about how content writing is at the core of new media strategy and how there would really be no new media strategy without content writers. That would make anybody who wants to be a content writer feel very important right now. Without me, graphic designers will just exist. But are you trying to say, it feels like you are discouraging those who want to merge graphics designing and content writing, especially for those who independent people, for brands that are just starting up, they would need content writers, they would need graphic. So for those who really can't pay two separate individuals, is it still okay for someone to be able to, do graphics and do content writing and merge it as a career?
Yes, it is totally fine. It is totally fine. When I started with my page, I was designing for my page, my Instagram page. I was designing myself for my Instagram page and the content and everything, right? So you can start that way. It's totally fine. When I'm talking of separating graphic designing and content writing, I'm talking of for big brands, right? That's why I said if you want to go big, you have to focus on one of the two, right? You can't do graphic designing and then do content writing.
It will even reduce your ability to be creative because you are doing two things at a time, trying to focus on one thing at a time. Okay. So what would you say to teenagers and young adults who want to go into copywriting? How would you, right now I want you to pitch your career. When you want to introduce a brand, when you want to introduce a new product to prospective clients, you have to talk about it in such a way that, okay, they would really want to do this. So for those watching us right now, what would you like to say to them to encourage them to go for content writing?
Okay, so if you want to be a content writer, first thing first, you have to read books. So you have to take courses, you have to be exposed. Exposure is very, very important. So your creativity is limited to your level of exposure. I mean, you have to be vast. You have to have seen a lot of ads, seen how other people think, how they came up with a particular idea. So you can have, I mean, people usually say that there is no original idea.
Yeah.
There's no
Still
original
like an artist.
idea. So you you see a content, you recreate it in a very unique way, and then you come up with your. So in order to be a content writer, you have to be exposed. That's very, very key. You can't be somewhere and limited to a particular kind of how will I put it? You can't be somewhere and then your exposure is limited and then you expect to be creative beyond I mean, the usual thing we have around.
I like the sound. I like how that sounds because it feels like an adventurous career. You know, something that you have to travel.
It is.
For some of us that love to travel, you have to travel, you know, travel to places to see, to be able to get creative. I totally, you know, agree with what you said concerning the fact that you have to expose yourself to a lot of things because anybody who must be creative, it's a known fact that you must be exposed if you must be creative because if you are narrow-minded, if you limit yourself to a particular place, a particular set of people, you know, a particular line of the things that you do, your content would be limited and will keep going around that circle. So for those who want to be content writers, you have to be willing to travel, you have to be willing to read a lot of books, you have to expose yourself to a lot of art. So it's not something that you just decide that you want to do. And that's why I'm really glad that we started this show with content writing because it's not such a very popular career. Even when parents want to choose a line of career for their children, you see parents, when they see their children growing up, they say, I want you to be a doctor, I want you to be an architect, I want you to be an engineer. You barely hear any parents saying, I want you to be a content writer.
I think because it's not something that was in vogue in their time. If a child of mine comes up to say she wants to be a content writer, why not? Of course.
So what do you have to say to parents out there who don't see content writing as a good career for their children?
Okay, I would say if a child comes up to say they want to be something that you don't really know about, so as a parent you have to research about it. So you have to research, check out the industry, what is it like, okay, what's the paycheck like, and all of that, you know, so you know how to direct this child in the way he or she should go, right? So if your child comes up to say he or she wants to be a content writer, it's really a big deal. Do you know how much content?
I think we should go into that. How much can you make? Because some parents are actually concerned about, I want my child to make it big in life, not just become a household name, but, you know, earn enough money. So for content writing, I personally, from my research, I've seen that most content writers actually do it by the way. You know, they do it on the side. It's not really like a major career for them. But for someone like you who actually majors in content writing, how much do you think we can make? Let me know if I will switch from being a TV presenter to content writer.
As a content writer, you can earn as much as you want to earn, especially if you're a freelancer, actually. Because, I mean, you work with this brand, you help them write the content. Like, last month, I got another gig entirely from what I do, the people I work with.
Another brand?
Yes, another brand entirely. So I wrote 30 contents for their social media page. So that's like, by the way. You know, it's not something, it's not a brand I really work with, you know, but they just brought so I want you to help us write the content, this amount of content for maybe 40 contents for 30 days or whatever it may be, you get, and then you get your money on contract. So you can, as a freelancer, you can work contract based, you can work as you like, you can work with any brand you wish to, you know, you can work with 5 brands at a time, you can work with 10. Imagine if you're working with 3 big brands.
Wow.
Like
that would be a lot of money.
A lot. That's like
plus a lot of exposure.
3 different stream of incomes. You can also sit and cross your leg at the end of the month, and then you get your income from 3 different places. Do you get? So you can earn as much as you want to earn.
Jesus loves you, Jesus loves you, you are a child of God. Hello children, my name is Oluwakemi, your host on the program, Keys and Bible. On this program, you are going to learn a lot of Bible stories from Genesis to Revelation, stories that will impact your life positively, stories that will make you to grow spiritually. I want you to call your friends, call your neighbors, call everybody around you, sit down for your TV set and let us roll on together on Keys and Bible on Divine TV. Divine TV, enriching souls through the gospel of Christ.
You're still watching Divine TV, where we enrich souls through the gospel of Christ. I want to ask, do you think it would be a waste of time to have organizations who specialize in content writing alone? You know, they have staff that they pay, paid staff, who strictly write content for brands. Brands come to them, I want you to be in charge of writing content for my organization. And do you also think that it would be good to have a regulatory body, you know, a body that regulates content writing in Nigeria, online and offline?
Okay, right now, if you want to do that, there is no problem. I wouldn't say no. But what I would say is looking at putting myself in the position of a brand right now. I mean, I won't have a product. For instance, I sell mugs, and then I want to maybe advertise or something, and then I now distribute rather my the workload and say, okay, so I want this brand to take care of content alone,
writing.
and then I go to another brand entirely to talk about maybe the design.
Graphics.
There will definitely be conflict because the graphic design guys may not be comfortable or even understand totally what the content writer is saying or is trying to pass across. And even while writing content, you already have a graphical image of what you are thinking in your mind. Do you get? So, and then maybe they now design something and then you're like, no, this is not what I meant to. Do you understand? So the conflict is really there. And maybe when this metaverse come into existence, we could now have, because I'm very sure that content writing is now going to go really, I mean, you understand? So, I mean, it could have another dimension because it may not be the same way you write for social media or blog or website that you write for maybe a company that wants to advertise on Metaverse. Do you understand? So, it could still have another dimension, and then maybe people can now come up to say, okay, I want to own a brand that only deals with content writing. Some could even say, I only deal with content writing for the Metaverse. Do you understand? So, but for now, well, if I own a brand, I won't patronize you at all.
So I would love to ask on a final note, what would you like to say to teenagers and young adults who are currently in another line of study but would still love to be a content writer because of what you've said? You know, some people actually have this imbued creativity. They have what it takes to be a content writer. They probably did not know. But from what you have exposed them to, they've decided that, okay, this is something that I could go into. This is something that I probably even have the passion for it. What would you like to say to them?
My mentor studied engineering, but now he's into the advertising space. So, I mean, it doesn't matter about what you're studying now. If you want to be a content writer, all you need to do is expose yourself in that industry. You know, as I said earlier, take courses, develop your writing skills, develop your communication skills, you know, just the basics that you need, expose yourself, and experience will take care of. You
know, this actually sounds like good news, especially to those people who, you know, people say that jammed you. Especially to those people who actually wanted to study something in the higher institution, especially something that has to do with content writing, mass communication, but because they couldn't make the cutoff, or they made the cutoff, and because of one thing or the other, they couldn't study it. Now they get to know that, okay, no matter what I study, I can be a content writer, even though you have to put in the work. It's not as easy as it sounds. You know, you studied engineering, now your mentor is making it big in the graphics industry and all of that. It's something that you have to expose yourself, take extra courses. That's like extra years of study. You know, because after studying engineering for 5 years, you want to be a content writer. You don't just become a content writer the next day. You have to take courses that may take months. Do some courses take years?
Yeah, I would advise that you even start while you're in school. That was what I did. I started my internship with various digital agencies while I was in school. So I work from school because I work remotely, so while in school, so I do that. So when I finished school, I didn't need like to go on another years of internship before I start working with brands and all that. So so you have to, I think it's better you start from school, so you don't have to start from scratch after living 25 years in a Nigerian university and your parents are waiting for money at home. So you should actually start from school. Yes, it will save you a lot of time, stress and everything.
Thank you very much. Are you open to mentoring the young ones? Are you open to mentoring people who want to be content writers? How do they reach you if they want to be mentored by you?
Okay, you can reach me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @yourcreativetank.
Would you like to just spell it all out?
Okay, YOUR creative, and then tank, the normal TANK.
Okay.
Yes, because there's so much creativity you can draw out from it.
Just
so I'm
Instagram?
a tank. You can reach me on LinkedIn, at Adetola Esther, right? I have a Facebook page also, Your Creative Tank as well. So
it's such a pleasure being with such a creative tank as you on our show. She definitely dished out a lot of knowledge that I would urge everyone watching right now to take advantage of. If you feel like you want to be a content writer, you want to go into the line of mass communication, or you want to go into just content writing, strictly content writing, you don't want to start with graphics or anything, you can follow her and get more knowledge, more than she has dished out. Time is not on our side. We would have just drawn so much from you today, but thank you very much for being on the show, Adetola. It was so nice having this conversation with you. I'm sure that those watching will also be grateful. Thank you very much. This is still Catch Them Young. Thank you so much for staying with us on the show. This is a platform where teenagers and young adults are exposed to practicing professionals who will guide them in their choice of a career. Today we had on the show a content writer who has given us from her wealth of knowledge all it takes to be a content writer if you want to be one. And if you do not want to be a content writer, if you are in the science field, arts or commercial, whatever field you find yourself, still stay tuned for more episodes of Catch Them Young live on Divine TV. On Divine TV, we are committed towards enriching souls through the gospel of Christ. You can follow us on various social media platforms at Divine TV. You can also download our mobile app on Play Store, Divine TV, or watch on YouTube on Divine TV. Thank you so much once again for staying with us. My name is Praise Shogbade.